Hello and welcome back to part 5 of this video series talking about mid-level goals for an Ironman. In this video series, we're exploring the different goals and unlocks you can aim for as you progress through your Ironman account. The first 4 videos in this series looked at the different quests you can do to help your account. In part 5, we are moving away from quests and looking at skills. In this video, we'll be looking at some mid-level skill milestones you might want to go for. I want to clarify a few criteria for which I have selected these as mid-level goals. Number 1, the range for all levels will be between 40 to 80-ish. There are a lot of important unlocks at high 80 to 99 in a lot of skills, but I deem those to be a high level goal rather than a mid-level goal. Number 2, I have tried my best to include at least one milestone per skill. However, not all skills are created equal. Some skills will have only one low quality milestone, while other skills will have many multiple good milestones. Number 3, invention is omitted from this list due to its status as an elite skill. However, the requirements for invention are included in their respective skills. Number 4, quest requirements are not considered milestones. Number 5, boosts are not considered. For example, if an unlock is at level 60, I am not going to make the milestone at level 55 just because there is a boost that can take you to level 60 for that skill. Without any further ado, let's get started. Agility. Right out of the gate, I am going to be stretching the criteria I set out just a few moments ago. Outside of energy regeneration, agility doesn't have that many useful unlocks. There are a few agility shortcuts that will make your life easier. In regards to shortcuts, there are 2 shortcuts I think are worth aiming for. You have the Trollheim rock climb at level 47. This shortcut makes it easier both to get to the Trollheim patch and Grenwalls dungeon from the normal spellbook Trollheim teleport. You also have the Slayer tower plank at level 71 that grants you access to the highest floor with abyssal demons. This area is the best area for killing abyssal demons without being on task and having access to Croesus dungeon. Outside of shortcuts, there are 2 milestones to aim for. One is Agility 75, which is a requirement for Flash Powder Factory. Flash Powder Factory can give us both the Botanist and Flash Powder outfit. Both are useful for Herblore training. For more information on the Flash Powder reward, please go to the Herblore section of this video. The second milestone is level 85, which lets you fully complete the Anachronia Agility course lap. This is the reason why I said I'm stretching the criteria I set out, as level 85 is bordering a high level milestone, but this is my video so I can do what I want. Completing the Anachronia Agility course will get you codex pages. By combining 500 codex pages, you can make the codex to either unlock double search or double escape. Both have their uses, but double search specifically will allow you to get around the game easier and faster. It is worth noting that you can start doing the Anachronia Agility course from level 30 Agility. The different obstacles on the Agility course have different level requirements between level 30 and 85. You can still traverse the obstacle at a lower level, you just can't complete the full course. You will find codex pages occasionally traversing any obstacle on the Agility course, but completing the full lap gets you 10 pages guaranteed. So it is possible to get the codex at level 30 Agility by going across a section that only requires level 30 Agility. This will take a ridiculously long time and is therefore not recommended. Even at level 85, it will take over 6 hours to get one codex, so I wouldn't even think about it at a lower level. This is the reason why I put 85 as the requirement. Archaeology. At the time of making this video, Archaeology is the newest skill. It is also one of the 6 skills currently that has a maximum level of 120. The release of Archaeology brought with it relic powers, ancient summoning, invention, and potions, which changed the meta for many skilling and PvMing setup. The max level being level 120 does mean that a large amount of great unlocks is towards the higher end of the level scale. For the benefit of this list, there are 2 level goals you should aim for as a mid-game Ironman. The first level goal is level 56. Level 56 is the skill requirement for the Berserker's Fury relic power. This relic power requires you to sacrifice an amulet of the Forsaken to unlock the relic power. This amulet is a rare drop from Barrows. Once you have the relic power active, you can deal up to 5.5% more damage the lower your life point is, making this one of the most powerful PvM relic power. The second level goal is level 68. There are two reasons for us to get to level 68. The first is a benefit towards runecrafting. Level 68 unlocks the relic power Nexus mod. On the way to unlock Nexus mod, you should also unlock Pouch Protector at level 36 Archaeology. Both of these in combination can speed up your runecrafting trip through the Abyss. Nexus mod teleports you straight to the center of the Abyss, so you don't have to do the scaling obstacles on the outer edge of the Abyss. Pouch Protector means your pouches never degrade, which can save you time from repairing your pouches. The second reason why we want level 68 Archaeology is that it unlocks Ancient Summoning. Ancient Summoning unlocks some of the best familiars in the game, such as Waterfiend, Blood Reavers, and Ripper Demons. Construction. We move on from agility to another strong skill. Construction has been a core skill for the game, and Jax has been constantly updating the skill over the years to keep this skill useful for all levels, especially since the much anticipated rework. What? I'm reading the wrong script? Here we go. Construction has been a fairly neglected skill, with many players requesting a skill rework for a long time now. We can only look with envy at some of the features player-owned houses have in old school RuneScape. The good news for Ironman is that there are still some uses for construction, even if not all the uses are within a player-owned house. Let's first talk about player-owned houses. There are 3 level goals I think are worthwhile. One is level 45, which unlocks the ability to build a chapel. In the early to mid game, prayer points are difficult to come by. It is equally difficult to find an easy teleport to an altar to restore your prayer. This can be resolved by just building a chapel in your house. You can now restore all your prayer with just a player-owned house teleport. The second goal I will go for is level 55 construction, which unlocks the armor stand. The armor stand can be used to repair a majority of degradable gear in the game. The cost to repair scales with your smithing level, and in most cases you will find the cost to repair much cheaper than using an NPC like Bob. This is important as you will start using many degradable pieces of gear as you progress through the game. Pretty much all high level gear are degradable. The third and final player-owned house goal is at level 63, which lets you build a driftwood prawn broker. The prawn broker will allow you to gain prawn perks by handing in golden fishing eggs that you get from fishing. At a certain tier of prawn perk, you can start fishing without using bait or feathers. Very nice quality of life to save you from using your feathers on fishing, so you can save them for fletching instead. Now let's talk about goals outside of player-owned house. First, we have level 55 construction, which lets you build all clue scroll hiding holes up to hard. Hiding holes make it much easier to do clue scrolls. Doing clue scrolls is very useful to gain fortunate components which you will need to make endgame jewelry. Second, we have level 75 construction, which lets you tune the crystal harp at Prifdinus. Playing the harp gets you harmonic dust, which is needed to make crystal gear. It is needed to make tier 80 attuned crystal weapons, such as the attuned crystal wand. It is needed to make the crystal tools, such as crystal hammer, crystal fishing rod, as well as the crystal hatchet, pickaxe, and mattock. Finally, we have level 80 construction, which is one of the requirements to do Croesus the Elder God Wars 3 scaling boss. Croesus gives some amazing drops. Outside of just general useful resources such as soul roots, limp roots, and cockatrice eggs, Croesus also drops scaling offhands and crypt loop tier 90 mage tank armor. One final note I would like to add is that this is a recommended requirement. You can go in with a lower level if you want, but you are likely to get less rewards. Cooking. Cooking is a challenging skill to talk about. The main use of cooking is to cook food. No surprises there. The higher level you go, the better the food you can cook. Of course, it's not much of a guide if I tell you to just get as high level as possible. We also can't look too far ahead since all the good food are at least level 80 plus. The 2 level requirement I end up setting on are level 52 and level 72. Level 52 lets you cook Desert Soul, and level 72 lets you cook Beltfish. Both of these fishes are obtained from Manifold fishing, and using these foods should carry you through the majority of the mid-game combat. Crafting. Crafting as an artisan skill in theory should be very useful for an Ironman. Unfortunately, crafting has a similar issue to old smithing, where the crafting level required to make the gear is much higher than the combat level to wear it. So it is generally not worth using crafting to create your gear, at least in the mid game, as there are better options for gear. Where crafting shines for gear is at a higher level when you can make Serenic and Hydrox jewelry. That is not to say crafting is useless for a mid-level Ironman. There are still 4 milestones that we will want to aim for in crafting, but I will omit the armor and jewelry crafting. The first milestone will be level 61 crafting, which allows you to create all these strong urns. Urns are an item that fills up as you train. Once it fills up, you can teleport it away for 20% bonus experience. It is a very useful way to boost your experience rates, especially in the slower skills. The strong urns will gain experience if you use training methods up to level 70 to 75. For example, the strong fishing urn will work on catching fish up to level 70. The strong woodcutting urn will work on cutting logs up to level 75. Speaking of level 75, the second crafting milestone will be level 75. This follows from the construction milestone section. Level 75 is the other requirement to use Crystal Harpe. Playing Crystal Harpe gets you harmonic dust, which is an ingredient to make attuned weapons and crystal tools such as the crystal fishing rod, crystal hatchet, and others. The third milestone will be level 78. Level 78 will allow you to make all the worthwhile decorated urns. These are decorated fishing and woodcutting urn at level 76, decorated runecrafting urn at level 77, and decorated mining urn at level 78. There are further decorated urn unlocks above level 79, such as the cooking urn at level 81, but these training methods have such fast experience that the urn themselves are not worth making. The final crafting milestone will be level 80. Level 80 is one out of the 3 level 80 requirements to unlock Invention. Invention perks are extremely useful, so it is worthwhile trying to get access to Invention as early as possible. Divination. For the late game Ironman, Divination will be one of the most essential and probably also one of the most hated skills due to the need to constantly get energies for divine charges. For the mid game Ironman, there is much less immediate need for Divination. There are 3 main levels I think you should aim for in Divination. Level 68 allows you to make Sign of the Portal 4. Sign of the Portal 4 has 20 charges that will automatically teleport collected items to your bank. It requires 45 vibrant energy and 1 emerald necklace to make. While Portal 4 doesn't give as many portal charges as the high level portals, it also requires few materials. This tier of portal should be decent mid-ground for when you need to train gathering skills away from a bank. You will most likely use this for archaeology training. The next goal is level 78, which will allow you to create Sign of Life. Sign of Life, when worn, will resurrect the player when they die. This has a cooldown of 1 hour. This is essential if you are a hardcore, as it can save you in a pinch. For a regular Ironman, it is also a decent option since you likely won't have any beneficial pocket items at this point in the game. Saving yourself from dying is always good. The final goal for Divination will be level 80. Like crafting in the previous section, level 80 Divination is the second of the 3 requirements to unlock Invention. Dungeoneering. Dungeoneering is one of the more controversial skills in RuneScape, with many believing it should be a minigame, not a skill. Recent updates to Dungeoneering has been inclusive of Ironman. Elite Dungeons and Group Ironman Dungeoneering has made Dungeoneering rewards much more accessible. Many will complain about the integrity of Ironman with these group activities, but that's not what we are here to discuss. We will split Dungeoneering level goals into 2 parts, one for the item rewards from Dungeoneering Token Shop and the other for resource dungeons. Dungeoneering Token Shop rewards are an interesting concept. Dungeoneering tokens are gotten from a Dungeoneering floor at 10% of the total experience, so if you gain 100 experience for a floor, you will get 10 tokens. This creates an annoying situation where even though you reach the level to unlock a reward, you do not have enough tokens to buy it. In fact, it's possible for you to not have enough tokens even if you have not used any tokens prior. This makes all the token shop rewards have 2 requirements. One is the base level requirement. This is the level requirement to be able to purchase and use the reward. Second is the token imposed requirement. This is the minimum level you need to reach to get enough tokens to buy the item, assuming you haven't used any tokens for anything else. The token issue is largely resolved with the Elite Dungeons, as now you can do token farming runs to gain a large amount of tokens very quickly. Even as a low level, you can tag along with a high level team who can carry you through the runs for fast token rates. Unfortunately, I can't assume everybody watching this guide will be doing token farm runs, therefore I'll be breaking the lower level boundary criteria for goals. Some of the goals will have level requirements lower than 40, but they're on their list due to their higher token imposed requirements. I hope all who watch this guide will have the heart to forgive me for this transgression. The first item reward is the Bonecrusher with a level requirement of 21 and a token imposed requirement of 62. This item will automatically bury bones for prey experience, a very nice quality of life. This can be used together with the Twisted Bird, Split Dragon Tooth or Demon Horn Necklace to automatically regain prayer points when you kill monsters that drop bones. The second item reward is the Charming Imp with a level requirement of 21 and a token imposed requirement of 73. The Charming Imp will automatically loot charm drops and put them in your inventory. Again, a super nice quality of life item. If you are making the choice, I will prioritize over the Bonecrusher. There are other ways to train prayer, but you need charms to train summoning. The third item reward is the Scroll of Cleansing with a level requirement of 49 and a token imposed requirement of 56. The Scroll of Cleansing has two effects. The one we care about is that it has a 1 in 100 chance to save an ingredient when making a potion. There are multiple scrolls in the dungeon reward that gives boosts to different scaling activities. The Scroll of Cleansing will be the only scroll on this list. This is not because it is the only useful scroll, but because I think it is the scroll that makes the biggest difference due to how difficult Herblore is compared to the other skills. The fourth item reward is Ring of Vigor with a level requirement of 62 and a token imposed requirement of 66. Ring of Vigor will save 10% adrenaline when using an ultimate ability. This is incredibly helpful when doing any type of combat. This can be initially used as a switch when you use your ultimate. Once you have done the quest Extinction, this can be unlocked as a permanent effect. The last item reward are the Chaotic Weapons at level 80, which has both a level and a token imposed requirement of 80. All Chaotic Weapons are tier 80 and are available in all three styles. While there are other options for weapons at tier 80, with the easiness of farming tokens, Chaotic Weapons are also a very viable way for Ironman looking to upgrade themselves to tier 80 weapons. This is especially the case if you aren't a big quester, therefore not necessarily having access to attuned weapons and Sunspear. That is it for the item reward goals. For the resource dungeon reward goals, there are only two levels to aim for. The first is level 45, which unlocks the Mining Guild resource dungeon for Luminite and Dracolith rocks for mining. The second is level 75 for the Alchemy resource dungeon for Dracolith and Necrite rocks. Farming. Farming is so good for Ironman. Farming always had a close tie with Herblore, and with the release of player-owned farm and ranch out of time, there are now even better rewards. Farming was my first 99 on Ironman, not because I was going for it, but just because of the experience I got while trying to gather resources for Herblore. The first level goal will be level 64. At level 64, you can grow spiders in your player-owned farm. By having an Elder Spider and a farming totem on your farm, you get access to the Nope 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 perk. The Nope 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 perk increases your damage against spiders 2% at the first tier, 3% at the second tier. The reason why we want this perk is that it works against Araxor. 3% doesn't sound like much, but can help you get those Araxor kills when you're going for tier 90 noxious weapons. The second goal is level 67, which allows you to farm Canatines. Honestly, all the herb growing level unlocks are useful for an Ironman all the way to level 91 for Felstock. I picked level 67 specifically due to Canatine being one of the more difficult herbs to gain on an Ironman. The other herbs such as Snake Dragon, Lantime and Dwarfweed have many drop sources such as Fire Watches. It is therefore more likely you run short on Canatine than any other herb and need farming to make up the shortfall. The third goal will be level 69 when you can farm palm trees. You might ask yourself why I pick palm trees out of all of the fruit tree options. This is because palm trees give coconuts. Coconuts is one of the necessary ingredients to make weapon poison, which is a huge damage route for both Slayer and bossing. Unfortunately for an Ironman, there aren't many consistent ways to get coconuts, but farming is one of them, which is why it is on this list. The fourth goal is level 70, which allows you to grow poison ivy. Poison ivy is in the same situation as the palm trees. It is an ingredient to make weapon poison, and it is quite difficult to get poison ivy outside of farming. Fishing. Fishing falls in a similar category to cooking, where you simply want a high level as possible to fish better foods for yourself. In line with cooking, the two goals you should aim towards is level 52 and level 72, which will allow you to cook Desert Soul and Belled Fish respectively. Aside from being a complement to cooking, there are other level goals that are worth aiming for. The first goal is level 68 fishing, which grants you access to the Fishing Guild. What we are interested in though is not the Fishing Guild itself, we're interested in being able to travel to Deep Sea Fishing Hub once you have access to the Fishing Guild. In the Deep Sea Fishing Hub, there is a random event where a traveling merchant will arrive and offer 4 items to sell. The items will change from day to day, but within the rotating random stock, there are some items which are very useful for an Ironman. Some examples of what they sell include Slayer VIP coupons, Death Touch darts, and livid plants. Another level goal worth aiming for is level 80, which is recommended level for 2 things. One is Croesus, which we discussed in the construction section. Level 80 is recommended if you plan to do the fishing node at Croesus. The second thing level 80 is recommended for is swarm fishing. At around level 80, you'll be able to fish higher level fish that you don't have access to yet, such as blue blubbers and sailfish, through swarm fishing. Fletching. If you have made it this far in this video, you might think I'm a bit of a Debbie Downer on a lot of skills, and you'll be right. Unfortunately for you, that's not going to get any better, since the next skill, fletching, also has the same issue as crafting. The level requirement to make a lot of gear far exceeds the level requirement to wield such gear. No Ironman in their right mind will get level 85 fletching to make a magic shortbow a tier 50 weapon. Luckily for us, just like crafting, there are a few exceptions we can look at. The first level goal will be level 52, which unlocks broad arrows. Broad arrows themselves aren't anything impressive, but broad arrows is amazing fletching experience and is the ideal way for an Ironman to get to level 99 fletching. This will be the only time I am making a training method as a milestone. This is how much I value broad arrows as a fletching training method. For the min-max aficionados, making broad arrows is a great on-the-go training method. By that, I mean you can pretty much carry the ingredients and make broad arrows anywhere. It only takes 3 inventory slots. You can even gain some sweet experience during the time-gated P2 and P4 of Rago if you are TL5. The second level goal is level 70, which is the requirement to make blisterwood weapons, which is also a tier 70 weapon. If you're interested in blisterwood, check out part 2 of this video series where we talked about gear unlocks, but the blisterwood weapons are a relatively easy way to access tier 70 weapons for all 3 styles. The final level goals are level 76 and 80, which unlocks Bane arrows and Bane bolts respectively. Which level goal you will aim for will really depend on what weapon you will have access to at that point in time. Bane weaponry are special weapons that needs to be attuned to a specific type of monster. You can attune it to dragon, Walasakis, basilisk, and abyssal monsters. Tuned Bane weapons give both an accuracy and a damage boost against the tuned creatures. Bane ammos have the issue of being tier 60, so you're applying damage and accuracy boost on top of a tier 60 power, making them not the best in slot everywhere. However, they can be very useful on monsters where you are having accuracy issues, for example if you don't have tier 90 weapons or if you are not able to make use of the Slayer helmet boost. Herbalore. Herbalore is incredibly useful. It is also difficult to train, at least during the mid game. Majority of potions are useful for PVM, and at the same time a lot of resources are more easily obtained from PVM drops. Outside of the combat focused potions, there has been more potions that are beneficial for scaling over the past few years, such as Power Burst of Sorcery for runecrafting or Invention potions for making perks. With how useful Herbalore is, there is a major risk of making this list almost the same length as the number of potions there are between level 40 and 80. I have therefore done my best to try to narrow down this list. For example, I have not included the supersets or potions such as regular invention potions on this list. This is because while these potions at their base tier are useful, they shine at a much higher Herbalore level where they are used to make the higher tier potions, supersets to make overloads, invention potions to make extreme invention potions. The first goal to aim for is level 38, which unlocks prayer potions. Prayer potions are useful throughout the game and even used in the late game to make spiritual combination potions. The second goal will be level 50. At level 50, you'll be able to play the Flash Powder Factory minigame. For playing the minigame, you gain Brian points. Brine points can be used to purchase Botanist outfit, which gives up to 6% boost to Herblore experience. The specific part of the outfit we're interested in is the modified Botanist mask, made with Botanist mask and the Botanist mask add-on. This modified mask by itself only gives 1% bonus experience, but it also gives a 5% chance to make a duplicate potion, which adds up throughout your Herblore grind. The Flash Powder Factory also gives the Flash Powder Factory outfit. If you have 3 out of the 5 pieces, you gain a 10% chance to create a 4-dose potion rather than a 3-dose. This is also a very useful effect for Herblore and something you should obtain as you level up your Herblore. However, unlike the Botanist set, the Flash Powder set can be gained with Thala rather than Brine points. Since you can get Thala from any spotlighted minigame, even the Flash Powder minigame when it is on Spotlight, it is advised to purchase Botanist with Brine points and Flash Powder with Thala. The third level goal is at level 63, which unlocks Super Restores. Like Prayer Potion before it, Super Restores is useful to restore your prayer points. I've included Super Restore on this list despite already including Prayer Potions because it is easier to gain the ingredients to make Super Restores compared to Prayer Potions. Many more monsters drop Snape Dragon and Red Spider Eggs rather than Renards and Snape Grass. The next level up, level 64, will be our next and final goal for the minigame. At level 64, you unlock Juju Farming Potion. Juju Farming is, in my opinion, the most useful Juju Potion. It increases the number of herbs you pick from your herb patch. You will likely do many herb farm runs as an Ironman, therefore getting this unlock is very important. Hunter. Mining has smithing, fishing has cooking, divination has invention. Hunter is one of the only gathering skills that doesn't have a counterpart skill. The other one is archaeology. While this means Hunter doesn't directly benefit a secondary skill, it does mean that some of the rewards from Hunter have a more varied reward set. There are 6 mid-level goals for Hunter. The first is level 55, which lets you hunt Sabre-Tooth Kyatt. Sabre-Tooth Kyatt drops Kyatt Fur, which is an ingredient to make Spirit Kyatt. A summoned Kyatt will teleport you to the Piscatoris Hunter area. The teleport is very close to the Piscatoris Obelisk, which is a good way to train summoning in the mid-game. The second milestone is at level 67, which lets you hunt Black Salamander. Black Salamander is a tier 70 ranged weapon. I have been remarking in this video that many pieces of gear have a high requirement to make than to wear. Black Sally is the opposite, which makes it an easy way to obtain a fairly high tier weapon relatively easily. The next 4 goals are all fairly close together. Our third goal follows on from the Herblore section. We talked about making Juju farming potions in the Herblore section. One of the ingredients is Marbled Vine, obtained from hunting Igneous Jadinko. To hunt Igneous Jadinkos, we will need level 74 Hunter, and that is our next goal milestone. If you want to understand a bit more about Juju farming potions, do go back over the Herblore section for details. One level higher, at level 75 Hunter, is our next goal. Level 75 allows us to hunt our first tier of dinosaurs through Big Game Hunter on Anachronia. This is a massive unlock. It's so big, I don't even feel it is right to put this on the same list as Spirit Kyatts and Igneous Jadinkos. While the experience rate at the tier 1 dinosaurs aren't amazing, it does give great loot. The most notable drops are the Dragon Mattock for archaeology and dinosaur eggs for farming. The dino eggs are not only important for high level farming training, the produce you can harvest from the housed dinosaurs is required for high level Herblore potions. Aside from those 2 big drops, hunting dinosaurs also give other useful resources such as raw sharks, seeds, herbs, dragon hides, and Grenwall spikes. Speaking of Grenwall spikes, this brings us to the 5th goal, level 77, which lets you hunt Grenwalls. Grenwall spikes are needed to make extreme ranging potions, which is needed to then make overloads. You might ask why I have included hunting Grenwalls on this list when I have just said you can get Grenwall spikes from dinosaurs. This is simply because you don't get enough Grenwall spikes from hunting dinosaurs. You will likely need to do some additional Grenwall hunting to have enough Grenwall spikes for Herblore outside of the spikes you gain from hunting dinosaurs. The 6th and final goal is level 80. Level 80 Hunter is a continuation in the theme of construction and fishing before. It is a recommended requirement for Croesus, the scaling boss. The scaling boss drops a lot of valuable resources for an Ironman. Croesus have 4 nodes, so depending on your role, you only actually need 1 out of the 4 skills, fishing, hunter, mining, and woodcutting to take part. Hunter is one of the faster nodes, so if you are a mid-level looking to do Croesus, hunting is likely a preferential choice so you can keep up with teammates of a higher level. Magic. Magic is a packed skill. There are many skills and honor you can gain from magic. Magic is also my preferred method of combat through the mid-game, since I think the gear is easier to obtain compared to the other styles. I have narrowed magic level goals to 3 for the mid-game. The first magic level goal is level 55 for high alchemy. We can't have this list without having high alchemy. Making money can be tough on an Ironman in the mid-game. To nobody's surprise, having high alch will help out tons. The second level goal is level 60. Level 60 is a requirement for the Mage Arena. The Mage Arena is a minigame in Deep Wilderness. Completing the minigame will get you a God Staff as well as a God Cape. The God Cape boasts one of the highest magic bonus for any cape. The next cape upgrade in terms of magic bonus will be when you have a high enough level to do the fight clean. God Cape aside, what is even more impressive is the Gothic Staff. Gothic Staff is a tier 60 staff, so will be your magic weapon of choice from when you can access Mage Arena. The Gothic Staff is also used through to the end game due to how good its spec is. The final level goal is level 66. Level 66 grants you access to the Magic Guild. We're interested in the Magic Guild for the Magic Guild Rune Store. This is one of the few magic stores that can sell you soul runes. Soul runes are difficult to craft, and there are many uses for soul runes in the late game. If you have spare cash, you should try to buy soul runes whenever you can to stockpile it for the late game. Mining. The mining and smithing rework in 2019 has greatly improved the skill. The rework has redone the skill so that the level requirement to create is in line with the level requirement to wield the finished product, a complaint which I have made earlier on skills like crafting. Unfortunately, this has made this list slightly harder to make. Every single ore unlock being useful for its corresponding tier means that this list will just end up being a list of every tier of rock ore. I have therefore decided not to include the ore specific unlocks in this list, but you can very much make your mining level goal equal to your attack level. For example, if you have a level 40 attack, you should get level 40 mining to mine adamantite to make tier 40 addy weapons. Outside of the normal metal ore, there are 2 level goals. First is level 80. There are 2 reasons why we want level 80 mining. If you have watched the video to this point, you might have guessed the first reason, and that is Croesus the scaling boss. For people who have skipped to mining, just to repeat what's being said in the other sections, 80 mining is one of the recommended requirements for Croesus, the other being fishing, woodcutting, and hunter. We want to do Croesus due to it dropping many useful resources for an Ironman. The second reason why we want level 80 mining is concentrated gold deposits. Perhaps surprisingly, gold ore is useful for an Ironman. Making jewelry is a good way to get precious components for invention and is needed to make porters. Concentrated gold deposits is a much faster way to get gold ore than the normal gold rocks. The second level goal is just 1 level above at level 81. Level 81 allows us to start mining red sandstones. Red sandstones can be made into flax while crafting. Flax holds 6 doses of potion compared to the standard 4 of a vial. This is very useful for bossing. The mining of the sandstone is daily. There is only a maximum number of sandstones you can mine per day, so if you hit this level early, you can start stockpiling red sandstone. I mention this because crafting red sandstone sits at a much higher level requirement of 89 crafting, so it's likely you can mine red sandstones much earlier than be able to make flasks, but this is not an issue since only the mining is time gated. Prayer. Prayer sits perhaps weirdly for a mid-level Ironman. You'll be at a place where using prayer will help make a lot of combat situations easier, but you won't be at a point where you'll have enough prayer restoring resources to use prayer everywhere you want to. In the previous video in the series, I've touched on the mid-level trap that is Ancient Curses. There are some incredibly strong prayers in the Ancient Curses book. Unfortunately, the strong ones are at a high level. For a mid-level Ironman, it is much better to stick with the normal prayer book. For this reason, the prayer milestone is entirely for the normal prayer book. There are only 2 prayer goals on this list. Number 1, level 43. This likely won't require much explanation. Level 43 unlocks Protect Melee Prayer. On the way to level 43, you will also unlock Protect Ranged and Protect Magic. All three of these are essential for many combat encounters. The second goal is level 70, which unlocks Piety, Augury, and Rigor. Again, if you have watched the previous video on quests in the series where I talk about the quest Temple of Sinistain, the reason why we stick with normal prayer until level 95 prayer is because of these three prayers. Piety, Augury, and Rigor provides a +8 level boost and a +8% damage boost in their respective styles, melee, magic, and ranged. These boosts are incredibly strong, which is why you should aim to achieve this goal. Whenever you have an abundance of prayer restoring resources, either potions or penance aura, you should make use of these prayers. This applies not just for bossing, but also for everyday slayer. Runecrafting. In the olden days of Ironman, runecrafting was advised as the first skill for an Ironman to level up. Some Ironman used to rush to level 91 runecrafting by AFK in rune spam while playing on their main. Doing so gave an Ironman tier 50 and tier 70 magic weapon through the runic staff. It unlocked player-owned ports, which were and still are a huge time-gated activity. Finally, it unlocked double nature runecrafting, which is useful for making GP through high alchemy. We are kind of past those days. There are now easier skills to get to level 90 for unlocking ports, and there are other options for weapons. With that in mind, there are two main mid-level goals for runecrafting. The first goal is level 50. Level 50 runecrafting gains us access to the Runecrafting Guild. What's so interesting about the Runecrafting Guild, you might ask? Well, the Runecrafting Guild plays host to the runebook machine, which is the only way to obtain Viswax. Every day, by inputting a combination of 3 different types of runes into the machine, you can produce up to 100 Viswax. Viswax has many different uses. You can re-roll and extend dailies, you can extend your auras, and you can charge quick teleports to make lodestone teleporting much faster. Viswax is extremely useful and a daily any Ironman should try to do regularly, assuming one has enough cash for runes. The second goal for runecrafting is level 77, which unlocks Blood Runecrafting. Blood runes are used in a variety of spells. The majority of your blood runes will likely be spent on ancients, especially if you 40 AA. Even if you don't, and you don't even know what 40 AA is, there are a few slayer tasks where it is more efficient to use Legacy Blood Barrage. Since Legacy consumes runes per cast, a lot of runes will be required if you end up doing those tasks. A secondary benefit to making blood runes aside from blood runes themselves is you can gain magic threads if you go through the abyss. Magic threads can be used to craft rune pouches that can hold up to 3 different types of runes, 4 if you upgrade the rune pouch to a grasping pouch, a useful item for both combat and skilling. Slayer. Slayer is probably one of the most loved skill in RuneScape. For many, it is profitable, fun, and efficient in terms of experience gain. For Ironman, Slayer also allows us access to items that will help us progress our account. Unfortunately for us, mid-level Slayer kind of sucks. The reward and experience isn't that great. This is the reason why some people recommend using Reaper task rewards to just skip the early levels of Slayer altogether. Due to this list may be a bit smaller than you might expect. There are only 2 level goals in this list, however, the second level goal is a 3-in-1 special. The first is level 56, which unlocked Warped Tortoises. Warped Tortoises are not the only way, but in my opinion, the only viable way to farm tortoise shells. Tortoise shell is used to make war tortoise pouches. Due to the relatively low summoning requirement and high character capacity, war tortoises is the most used beast of burden in the mid-game. Having a way to farm tortoise shells to make war tortoises will make a lot of combat activity easier until you unlock the tier 3 spirit pick or the Kyatt. The second goal sits at level 77 Slayer, which unlocks the ability to kill Desert Strykwyrm. However, I have picked this goal not because of Desert Strykwyrm by itself, but because you will now have the ability to gather all the ingredients to make the full Slayer helmet. The 3 main ingredients to make the full Slayer helmet is the Black Mask, Hex Crest, and Focus Sight, each giving a 12.5% in damage and accuracy to their respective styles, melee, ranged, and magic, while on a Slayer task. Black Mask is obtained from Cave Horrors at level 58 Slayer, Hex Crest from Jungle Strykwyrm at 73 Slayer, Focus Sight from Desert Strykwyrm at 77 Slayer. Focus Sight being the last requirement needed is why it's the one on this list. You can, by all means, make either level 58 Cave Horrors or level 73 Jungle Strykwyrm your goal if you predominantly use melee or magic for Slayer. Smithing. For this video, smithing has the same issue as mining, post-mining, and smithing rework. The rework has made it so that the level requirement to create is in line with the level requirement to wield the finished product. This means every 10 level becomes a significant unlock, as you can now make a new tier of gear. There will not be much significance in this list if I ended up listing every 10 level as a goal milestone, so I will not be doing that. You should be aware that just like mining, you should endeavor to keep your mining and smith in line with your melee stats. If you have level 50 attack, you should aim for level 50 mining and level 50 smithing to make gear for your stats. Bringing us back to the list, there are 2 level goals outside of the normal smithing gear tier unlocks. The first is level 70 smithing. Level 70 smithing lets us craft Royal Crossbow, a tier 80 ranged weapon. Royal Crossbow parts are obtained from killing the Queen Black Dragon. Aside from getting level 80 Dodgeneering, this is one of the easier ways to get a tier 80 ranged weapon. The second goal on this list is level 80 smithing. Level 80 is just one of the 3 level 80 requirements to unlock invention, the other being crafting and divination. Just to repeat what was said in the crafting section, invention perks are extremely useful, so it is worthwhile trying to get access to invention as early as possible. Summoning. Compared to some of the other skills we have gone through, summoning has quite a lot of useful content in the mid-game. Going through the list of familiars, I put together a list of 9 familiars that can be useful to you between level 40 to 80 summoning. To avoid making this section overly long, I'll briefly list each familiar, their requirement, and why they're useful. At level 50, you unlock Waterfiend. Waterfiend grants a 5% chance to duplicate the resources you gather from mining, fishing, woodcutting, divination, or archaeology. This is useful when you're gathering valuable resources such as archaeology materials. At level 52, you unlock Spirit Terrorbird. Aside from being the go-to beast of burden in the mid-game with its 12 inventory slots, it can help you with your run energy if your agility level doesn't allow you to run around the game without stopping. At level 57, you unlock Spirit Kyatt. We talked about the Spirit Kyatt in the Hunter section of the video. Spirit Kyatt can teleport you to the Piscatorius Hunter area, which is very close to a summoning obelisk to make summoning pouches. At level 67, you unlock War Tortoises. War Tortoise is the 4th best beast of burden and can carry 18 items. At level 68, you unlock Bunyip. A Bunyip will heal 2% of your life points every 15 seconds. It's great to carry around Slayer tasks when you don't have a better option for a combat familiar. At level 71, you unlock Arctic Bear. Arctic Bear gives an invisible +7 hunting bonus, which is the highest offered by a familiar in the game. The hunting boost can improve your hunting experience rates wherever hunter level you are. At level 73, you unlock Obsidian Golem. The Obsidian Golem provides a +7 invisible mining experience. While not the highest bonus offered by a familiar for mining, the +7 is not a small amount and can help you improve your mining experience rates. At level 74, you unlock Granny Lobster. Like Arctic Bear and Obsidian Golem before, the Granny Lobster offers an invisible skill boost, this time in fishing, and only a +4. This is the best that can be offered by a familiar for fishing, so it should be used in all fishing activities to boost catch rates. At level 79, you unlock Giant Ant. The Giant Ant has the effect to boost yield when harvesting from fruit trees, berry bushes, belladonna, and cacti. If you have listened to the farming section of the guide, you will understand why this is useful. The Giant Ant can help us gain more coconuts and poison ivy from farming. Thieving. Thieving is markedly more useful on an Ironman than a main due to its GP making potential for an Ironman. Thieving is also one of the preferred skills to rush level 90 to unlock player-owned ports. Not only is it relatively fast to train with Safecracking, it also gives you a bunch of GP. Speaking of Safecracking, this is our first goal milestone for Thieving. Safecracking is unlocked at level 62. At level 62, you access some of the safes in Miscellin. You can gain up to 300,000 experience per hour and some GP for fencing your loot at the Thieving Guild. This is a fairly important milestone as Safecracking will become the preferred method of training of thieving up to level 99 for most players. It is fast and somewhat AFK. The second goal milestone for thieving is level 75. Level 75 is one of the requirements for Flash Powder Factory, which can give us both the Botanist and Flash Powder outfit. Both are useful for herblore training. For more information on the Flash Powder reward, please go to the herblore section of the video. Woodcutting. We had a string of useful skills for an Ironman, and we're going to finish the guide on a low with woodcutting. Compared to the skills in the section immediately before this, woodcutting is a more neglected skill. There isn't much use for woodcutting. Many of the logs you need is easier gotten from other sources, for example maple logs from Kingdom of Miscellanea, magic logs from PVMing. Despite this, there are two goals you can aim for woodcutting. The first is level 35, which allows you to cut teak logs. It is better to get teak logs from Kingdom of Miscellanea, but teak trees isn't bad woodcutting experience itself, so it can save you some GP by cutting the teak trees yourself. The reason why we would want to cut teak trees is to make teak logs into teak planks for construction training. The ideal place to cut teak logs is on a plateau. There are 3 trees and you can gain access to a nearby deposit box following the completion of Deadliest Catch. The second goal we'll want to aim for is level 80. Level 80 woodcutting is one of the 4 recommended requirements for Croesus. The other 3 are Hunter, Fishing and Mining. We have already talked about Croesus in each of those sections as well as the construction section. Croesus, the scaling boss, drops many valuable resources and it is good to get the recommended requirements to do the boss to gain access to those drops. This brings us to the end of this very long video. I hope this video has been helpful. If you have enjoyed the video, feel free to give a like and a subscribe. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts and if you feel like I have missed anything important for any of the skills. Thank you for watching.